You tapping in real quick, something like nothing major, peace and blessings and all that. You know what I'm talking about? Nothing too crazy about this video right here. We just gonna sit here and chop it up for a few minutes for what it's worth about final thoughts for UFC 311. Call it the final talk, the final answer, the final lap. Call it what you will. We fitting to run through this motherfucker from bottom to top. One more again. You know what I'm talking about? Let's go ahead and dive into it, man. That first fight of the night, as of right now, the lineup still remains the same. We have Tagir taking on undefeated Clayton. Concrete Clayton Carpenter. You know what I'm talking about? And still a fight I want absolutely nothing to do with. Still a fight that I would not be surprised if Concrete Clayton Carpenter was able to come out here and keep that undefeated run intact, man. I'm a firm believer that, Tagir and Saeed are the weakest links from over there. You know what I'm talking about? I've said it many a times and I'll say it again. Mr. Redundant over this motherfucker. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody's not Habib. Everybody is not Habib. Everybody is not Islam. Everybody is not Usman. I'm not even going to include Umar in there because I believe Umar's always going to go at some point, in his career as well. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody's not Hamzat from over there. You know what I'm talking about? One thing, has nothing to do with the other. Everything ain't for everybody, and I believe Tagir and Saeed to be the weakest links from over there on that team, man. And I wouldn't be surprised if Clayton came in here, much like a Tim Elliott or a Zael Zumagulov, and was able to grind this one out, man. Tagir, Saeed, they're cleaner and crisper strikers. Not so much so on the wrestling and grappling, man. That's forced upon them by Habib. You understand what I'm saying to you? They do not like to implement that all-around body of work. If they can get away with just coming in there and piecing you up and producing a better body of work over the course of 15 minutes on the feet and not really having to motherfucking use that wrestling and grappling, maybe use it defensively to keep the fight upright, that's what a Tagir and a Saeed Nurmagomedov would like to do more than not. And if you're somebody who can show resistance in the wrestling and grappling department, or you're somebody who's very persistent in the wrestling and grappling department, you understand what I'm saying to you? Very efficient in your own right as well, man. You can grind out a victory over a Tagir and over a Saeed. You understand what I'm saying to you? So while the pick is Tagir, because I'd almost feel bad for Habib if any one of those three were to lose, I wouldn't be surprised if they went 1 and 2 out of 3. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Concrete Clayton Carpenter came in here and grinded out a victory, just like I wouldn't be surprised if Merab Dvalishvili, the motherfucking machine, grinded out a victory. You understand what I'm saying to you? Leaving Habib going 1 and 2 with his 3 fighters on Saturday night, man. You know what I'm talking about? I wouldn't like to see it for him based off of, I just know what it would do to him. Mentally, he would fucking pop. You know what I'm talking about? But we've already seen him pop when it comes to Tagir when Tim Elliott was locking up and securing those takedowns and producing a better all-around body of work. You know what I mean? So Tagir is the pick, but I myself have a couple dog plays as far as the prelims are concerned. I've attached Clayton to some of my most confident picks for a dog play on parlays. And I've also sprinkled something on his money line, at plus 250. It is what it is, man. I think it's very much a possibility. So while I'm rocking with Tagir and I don't have a lot of action on the fight, for the action that I do have on the fight, I have applied a swap out option for Clayton, man. Ricky versus Sopaj, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Sopaj is the pick, And while Ricky has been up here, got about a half a dozen, if not more, fights inside the UFC, he's got some green, more red than green, but That red also comes from a higher level of opposition in Raul Rosas Jr. You know what I'm talking about? And, you know, some of the other individuals that Ricky Turcios has had to fight as of yet, that Bernardo Sopaj has not had to fight as of yet. But with that being said, Ricky, you know, I'm not going to say he's relatively easy to take down, but he can be taken down. He can be controlled, and I believe that, you know, Sopaj is going to take him down. Sopaj is going to control him. And at some point in time, maybe somewhere in the second or early in the third, Sopaj might find that chin, catch him, and clip him cleanly, disconnecting him from his consciousness, man. I actually got a play on Bernardo Sopaj props in the method section to win via KO, TKO, or DQ at plus 360. You know what I'm talking about? If you can give me an individual who's sitting around a minus 350 favorite at plus 360 on the money, you know what I mean, on the return, I'm going to take it because he can fucking crack and Ricky gets hit, you know what I mean? Ricky gets touched. You understand what I'm saying to you? And he might not need to get touched too much by Sopaj. Sopaj can crack. That little compact motherfucker got a bit of pop in his shots, especially when it comes to comparing him to who he's going to be up against in Ricky. Ricky's a pity pat, you know, activity, energized bunny ass motherfucker. You know what I'm talking about? All over the place, you know, doing a whole lot but not doing a whole much, or, you know what I mean, doing a whole lot but not doing enough all at the same time. You know what I'm talking about? Some people know what I'm saying. Some people might not pick that up, but you can dig it, man. When you got an individual who's just doing too much but not doing enough all at the same time, man, you know what I mean? Kevin Holland has had some of those performances, man. Ricky Turcios has a whole lot of those performances, man. You know what I mean? So I can see him, you know, just possibly getting caught, clipped, and disconnected from his consciousness at the very least. You know, losing via unanimous decision. Maybe he finds himself in a compromisable position down on the mat and loses via submission. But the plays that I have so far on this fight are Sopaj on the money line, wrapped up in prelim parlays, and Sopaj in the prop section under the method to win via KO, TKO, or DQ at plus 360. For as much as Ricky gets hit, you know what I'm talking about? And for as much pop as Sopaj has in each and every one of his individual shots, especially that overhand, it's not outside the realm of possibility that he gets caught, clipped, and disconnected from his consciousness. So that's the plays that I have. You know what I'm talking about? Sopaj on the money line and Sopaj to win via KO, TKO, or DQ at plus 360. Why would not sprinkle something on that? Plus, I have some prop parlays, you know what I mean? And that's going to be a piece of one of my prelim prop parlays, you know what I'm talking about? But Renya and Muin, my bad. It's Renya by unanimous decision in my personal opinion. I do not know that he's going to find a finish on Muin, but I do believe he's going to sweep him 30-27. He's going to produce the all-around better body of work absolutely everywhere. You understand what I'm saying to you? And if the finish presents itself inside the distance within those 15 minutes, we'll take it. But I believe it's going to be a unanimous decision for, you know, Renya, Nakamura, whatever that's ringing in at. I'm going to find that under the methods in the prop section, and I'm going to put a little play on that as well. Because while I'm not high on Muin, I do believe he can survive 15 minutes. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's not necessarily going to be a high-volumed, you know, heavy activity fight, in my personal opinion. It's going to be an individual in Renya who's picking his shots, you know, a bit more of a technical practitioner absolutely everywhere, and just trying to implement an all-around body of work to just edge Muin out. Do I believe he'll justify his current price tag of over a minus 500, creeping up on minus 600? Possibly by clean sweeping him 30-27 and just edging him out absolutely everywhere in every round. If you can put on a master class and clean sweep somebody 30-27, you know what I'm talking about, and just you're not unable to find the finish inside the distance, but you know, you put work on them, for 15 minutes, you can justify your price tag if you just dog walk them and don't find the finish. But if you're not dog walking them and you're not finding the finish inside the distance, you understand what I'm saying to you? And it's highly competitive and closely contested for any amount of those 15 minutes, you're not justifying a minus 600 price tag, minus 550 price tag. You know what I mean? But I like Rinya. I like Rinya by decision. I like Sopaj inside the distance. Ricky's tough, but I like Sopaj inside the distance, man. You know what I mean? Via KO, TKO, or submission from a club and sub type situation. Maybe he just wrestles him down and puts him in a compromisable position. But I like Sopaj, man, inside the distance. If you guys are like on FanDuel or something like that anywhere and you can find that double play, that double chance, you know what I'm talking about? Sopaj via KO, TKO, or submission. Whatever that's sitting at, that's probably a nice little look too. Not saying he's not going to win by decision. I just think he's going to get Ricky out of there inside the distance. You know what I'm talking about? And I think Rinya's going to win via decision, man. I think A-Lin is going to edge Carol out. And I like Carol Rosa. Everything about Rosa, however you say it, everything about this fight when it was first announced, you know what I mean? I was, something inside me was itching at me to take Carol, you know what I mean? But upon further investigation, I came to the conclusion, right, that it might just be A-Lin's night, man. And I think it's going to be A-Lin's night via split decision. I think it's going to be controversial. I think there's going to be quite a few individuals that are on the other side and think it should have went the other way. You know what I'm talking about? And I might necessarily not even be able to argue that. If any fight on this card ends in a draw, in my personal opinion, it's this one. You know what I mean? There's one other fight on here I think might end in a draw, but I think this is top dog for a draw call. You know what I'm talking about? And it just is what it is, you know? What's draw? Like plus 5,000, you can put $10 on it and get 500 back. I'm going to sprinkle $10 on the draw for this fight. We haven't had a draw in quite some time. We haven't had one yet at all in 2025. You know what I mean? They've blessed us so far, man. You know, first two weeks, 28 fights, and they made sure we had 28 fights for both nights. 2 fights got canceled last minute, and we got late replacements for them on the last card. 2 fights got canceled this card. We got late replacement for them on this card. 14 fights apiece, 28 fights in 14 days. They fucking spoiling us, y'all. They spoiling us, and we're going to be tapping in, talking crazy in a few weeks when we get stuck with some cancellations and like an 11-10 fight card. They spoiling us right now. Let's take advantage of it, man. Spread our parlays out. 9 fights are on the prelims, because there's early prelims, and it's not like the last one where they gave us 8 on the prelims and 6 on the main, because it's a numbered card, and we got early prelims, and a main. So there's going to be like 4 on the early, 5 on the prelim, and then 5 on the main. You know what I'm talking about? They spreading it out like that. So if you don't have parlays in just for the prelims, you're fucking Benini, bro. You done lost your fucking mind, man. You know what I'm talking about? You got to find who you like within these 9 fights and secure a bag there before the main card even starts. You understand what I'm saying to you? Or at least put that together and then put your main card parlays together and your whole card parlays together. So if somebody fumbles the bag on the prelims, you're still live for the main card. It's not, you know what I mean? And vice versa. I don't want to see jokers, you know, waiting on 2 fights on the main card and already swept 6 fights on the prelims, and you know, they get one of the fights on the main card, and the 8th fight ends up fumbling the bag for them, and they lose everything because everything was on those fighters. Spread out across the card. No, do your main card parlays, do your prelim parlays, do your whole card parlays, do your dog plays. You know what I'm talking about? That way, if somebody fumbles a bag low on the prelims or on the main card, you're still live on the prelims or the main card, vice versa type shit. You understand what I'm saying to you? Dog plays are still live, and possible whole card parlays are still live. But it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? That's the early prelims. Stay the fuck away from Tagir and Clayton. You know what I mean? Unless you're highly confident or unless you're applying that swap out option, because that dog might bark. I like Sopaj to get it done inside the distance via KO, TKO, or via submission from a club and sub type situation. I like Renya to get it done via unanimous decision. And I like Aylin to get it done via split decision or majority decision. Both of their names are going to get read out, man. Only one of them is going to get called out at the end and get the nod via majority or split. Could be a draw. I'm going to prepare for all of that on this fight, man. But I like Aylin via split, man. Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. Listen, Grant's the pick. You know what I mean? Because when I originally saw this fight, announced, I jumped on Grant a bit too quick in my personal opinion. I shouldn't have done that, you know what I mean? Diego's a fucking dog. If not for anything else, Diego is going to fight like a motherfucking dog for your money. You understand what I'm saying to you? Diego has been in there with the higher level of opposition. There is no denying that. Not in any way, shape, form, or fashion, man. You know what I'm talking about? It just is what it is. Grant Dawson's best wins are over Jared Gordon and Julian Erosa. Fuck the Joe Seleckis with all due respect and the rest of them. You understand what I'm saying to you? His most dangerous individuals that he stepped inside that octagon with, his most well-rounded individuals that he stepped in that octagon with, his highest level of opposition that he stepped in that octagon with and was able to win was Jared Gordon and Julian Erosa. You know what I'm talking about? He took a fucking draw to Ricky Glenn. You know what I mean? And he got knocked the fuck out by Bobby King Green. While on the other side, fucking Diego, I mean, he's been in there with the who's who for the most part, He lost to Gamrot, lost to Dariush, lost to Dustin Poirier. I mean, come on, man. These are top fivers, title contenders, former champions. Dustin Poirier, Mateusz Gamrot, and Beneil Dariush 2 times. Grant Dawson has come nowhere near that level of opposition. You understand what I'm saying to you? And when he drew a draw to Ricky Glenn. That's coming close to that level of opposition, but not being there. And Bobby King Green knocked him the fuck out. Now to think that Diego Ferreira can't knock him the fuck out. He got wins over Anthony Pettis and Michael Johnson. I'll take those wins over Jared Gordon and Julian Erosa because based off the timelines when he faced them as well, that was a prime time Anthony Showtime Pettis and a prime time Michael Johnson for the most part. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'll take those wins over a prime time Julian Erosa and a Jared Gordon. And when you're losing to Bobby King Green and drawing to Ricky Glenn, I'll take losing to Beneil Dariush twice, Mateusz Gamrot once, and Dustin Poirier once over all of that shit. You know what I mean? The only one that's suspect is the Gregor Gillespie loss. We could do without that, you know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. I don't have a whole lot of action on this fight based off of, I know it can very easily not be Grant's night, you know what I mean? I don't do all that pick switching shit, you feel me? We just properly prepare for being on the wrong side of said picks as far as parlay placement is concerned. You understand what I'm saying to you? So if I jump the gun and I make a quick pick, and then upon further investigation, I come to the conclusion that that pick just ain't it, I'm going to let y'all know that. And then I'm going to properly prepare us for being on the wrong side of that pick as far as parlay placement is concerned. Now, if you was already on the wrong other side of that pick, and you was already rocking with Diego as a dog, then, this is relevant. You know what I'm talking about? And best of luck with any and all bets and parlays. And for what it's worth, the swap out option should be applied just in case Grant is able to come in here, stay safe, implement an all-around body of work, and edge Diego out for a decision. I can see Diego knocking him out, though, man. I can see Diego cracking him, clipping him, disconnecting him from his consciousness. I can see Diego cracking him, clipping him, club and sub type situation. I can see Diego snatching up a front choke, pulling guard on a guillotine, you know what I'm talking about, or something, happening that allows him to find a victory inside the distance via submission as well. Grant is solid. Grant is well-rounded. Diego is solid. Diego is well-rounded, but Diego is also proven that Diego can be very fucking dangerous, you know what I mean? We just saw Grant Dawson drag Joe Selecki out, you know what I mean? Grant Dawson's very solid, very well-rounded, but he's not all that fucking dangerous in my personal opinion up, you know, on this tier at this level where he's competing. But again, that's just my personal opinion. So while Grant was the pick and we not doing no pick switches, properly prepare yourself for being on the wrong side of that pick if you're on the same side as I am with Grant as of right now. You understand what I'm saying to you? Because Diego's a dog, man. Diego's a dog, and Diego can bark. And Diego has beaten and lost to and just been competing against the higher level of opposition. You understand what I'm saying to you? So it is what it is, man. You know, tread fucking lightly. You know what I'm talking about? Zach versus Azamat. Give me Zach Reese, man. Give me Zach Reese to take this late replacement the fuck up out of there inside the distance via submission. Possibly via KO, or, you know, club and sub type situation for the submission from catching him, clipping him, rocking him, and then hopping on him, you know, for the submission, man. I ain't even gonna say I get it. I do not know why Azamat is a favorite. You understand what I'm saying to you? He's 18-3, like maybe that's it. We're basing it off experience, but there's quite a few fights lined up, fights that we've already been through. You know what I'm talking about? Where that just didn't mean shit, and that didn't justify a price tag, and that didn't move the meter at all. You know what I'm talking about? It did not matter that this one was, you know, 5-1 going up against somebody who was 13. Like, it just, you know, it didn't matter. It didn't matter, but now all of a sudden I guess it matters. Azamat, like I guess I get, you know, he's 18-3, Zach's 8-1. Now I'm talking about he's from out of American Top Team, so he's got a good team behind him. American Top Team, ATT. I'm high on him, very solid. You understand what I'm saying too? Coaches, you know, members, everybody there on the team. You know what I mean? Very solid at putting a game plan together for you, sticking to the game plan for the most part. But Zach's dangerous, man. Zach is well-rounded. And, you know, I can see Zach at 18-3 when he has 21 fights under his belt. You know what I mean? He's 8-1 right now. He's going to be 9-1 after Saturday. And I think he's going to get a post-fight bonus for finding that finish inside the distance. You understand what I'm saying to you? Azamat is garbage, man. In my personal opinion, Azamat is trash. We've seen a lot of individuals come over to the UFC, you know, like, oh boy, man, it was 25-5 or 24-5 that fought motherfucking Marcus McGee, and Marcus put the work on him. You know what I mean? Like, you have these individuals that have accumulated these records, you know, very respectable on paper looking records until you dig into the resumes and see the level of opposition that they accumulated those records against. You understand what I'm saying to you? But anyway, you know, you look at them on paper, you look at the record, you look at the body of work they've been able to produce, and you think to yourself, well, you know what I mean, this motherfucker's problematic, man. You know what I'm talking about? If he's able to implement that body of work inside the UFC octagon on this tier up against this level of opposition when he's competing, you know, he could be problematic, and you know what I mean, maybe he's got a fairly decent ceiling inside the UFC. But then you realize he's looked good up against who he's looked good up against. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's just, it's nothing special about it. Now, there's nothing special about the level of opposition that Zachary Reese has been competing up against yet either. That shit is fucking horrendous. I think like some 9-0-1, 0-1, 1-2, 9-24, like some wild records, you know what I mean, that these individuals, as far as levels of opposition that they've been competing against, it's some wild combined records, you know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is, man. I've watched all I need to watch on Azamat. Everything I could find on him, everything I could dig up on him, every piece of motherfucking footage I could get my motherfucking eyes on. I watched it over and over again. He's fucking horrendous on the feet. I mean, all of this is open for the taking. The strikes come from, he's not even an individual who throws strikes from an awkward angle and just has an awkward style and kind of, you know what I mean, that shit could throw you off. He's just horrendous, man. You know what I mean? His wrestling and grappling is not even that elite in my personal opinion, it has looked very well down there at that level of opposition he's been competing against. It's not going to transfer up here the same, in my personal opinion. Zach is dangerous. Zach has a nice height advantage. I think Zach's like 6'4" to Azamat's 5'11", so he has about a 5-inch height advantage. He has a 6 or a 6.5-inch reach advantage. He has a power advantage. He has a speed advantage. He's more, technical of a practitioner in the striking department. More diversity in the striking department. More tools in his motherfucking arsenal. You understand what I'm saying to you? He's dangerous on the mat. I can see him catching and clipping and disconnecting Azamat from his consciousness. I can see a club and sub type situation from Zach, or I can see Zach snatching up a front choke, pulling guard on a motherfucking guillotine, and getting him out of there like that inside the distance. If Azamat is able to survive 15 minutes, I think it's Zachary Reese via unanimous decision, man. Zachary Reese is going to be too much for him. Too long, too fast, hits too hard, too dangerous. It's too much. He's too much. So at plus 170, I'll take him. I was on him at minus whatever he was as a significant favorite against Cedric Dumas. Now you want to give me him at plus 170 against somebody I personally believe not to be a better all-around mixed martial artist than Cedric Dumas, who he was just favored to beat. I'm taking that plus money number, man. I'm not even telling anybody to tread lightly. If you feel like you need to tread lightly, if you feel like you need to apply a swap out option, then go ahead, man. I'm not going to have a whole lot of action on this fight, but for the action I do have, it's Zach. It's Zach all day, every day, even on Sunday when I'm cashing these tickets out. You dig me? Jay out now Almeida versus Sergey. Leave it alone, y'all. Leave it alone. I got to be redundant. Leave it the fuck alone, man. You know what I'm talking about? Unless you like Sergey, leave it alone, man. It's heavyweight MMA. You know what I mean? Just like that women's MMA with Carol A. Lynn. Leave it alone, man. Leave it alone. I hate to see motherfuckers, lose as far as being able to cash out at the end of the night because of a heavyweight fight or a women's MMA fight. You know what I mean? There's quite a few things I don't like. I don't like the first fight of the night, the last fight of the night, heavyweight MMA, women's MMA, individuals making their UFC debut, individuals over the minus 500 money line are just ridiculously priced for no reason, and individuals that you might have question marks on from one side or the other, you know what I mean? More times than not, those are the ones that are problematic. The first fight of the night, Tagir versus Clayton, that shit could be problematic, man. The last fight of the night, Islam versus Arman. You know what I mean? Depending on how Arman's gas tank is looking, motherfuckers, assholes might be puckering for that fight if you're waiting on that fight to close out your ticket. You know what I'm talking about? So, if you can find a way to get your night done before that, get it done before that. But the first fight of the night, Tagir and Clayton, the last fight of the night, main events are always problematic. Islam and Arman. Heavyweight MMA, that's Jay Outen and Sergey. Women's MMA, that's motherfucking Carol and A. Lynn. Individuals, priced over the minus 500 money line or just ridiculously priced for absolutely no good reason. That's a couple motherfuckers on this card. Individuals making their UFC debut, that's motherfuckers on this card. And fights that you have question marks on from one side or both. All of those are boxes checked in the complete pass section. You understand what I'm saying to you? So while I will have action on just about everything on this card, when it comes to that's degenerate shit. When it comes to my main plays, my main bets, and my main parlays, I will not fuck with the first fight of the night, the last fight of the night, heavyweight MMA, women's MMA, a fight where somebody's making their UFC debut, a fight where somebody's priced over the minus 500 money line or above, so that means Rinya and Peyton is favorites. You understand what I'm saying to you? And any fights that I might have question marks on from one side, let alone both. You know what I mean? That just happens to also be the first fight of the night with Clayton and motherfucking Tagir and a couple other fights on this card, man. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. It is what it is, man. If you like Jay Outen and you're highly confident in Jay Outen and you want to take Jay Outen at almost a minus 500, then, to each their own, and best of luck with any and all bets and parlays. But Jay Outen Almeida has already fumbled the bag as a significant favorite when he stepped up and faced somebody in the heavyweight division that offered resistance in the wrestling and grappling department, was also, persistent in their own right in the wrestling and grappling department, and a bit more efficient in the wrestling and grappling department up here in this division, because Jay Alton Almeida is a light heavyweight that decided I'm not going to cut weight anymore because the route to title contention in the heavyweight division is a lot fucking quicker because it's not as deep as it is down here at light heavyweight or in these other divisions. You understand what I'm saying to you? So he stopped cutting weight, made the move up. He took out Alexander Romanov, maybe like a Parker Porter, you know what I'm talking about? Derek Lewis, he controlled him for 22 minutes and some change out of a 25-minute fight, but couldn't find a finish inside the distance, and it's Derek Lewis. You know what I'm talking about? With all due respect. You feel me? And Biggie Boy being his biggest win. The people that beat Sergey, Tom Aspinall, you know, Cyril Gane. Marcin Tybura beat him in his debut, but then he rectified that when they ran it back and got him out of there inside like the first 60 fucking seconds via submission. You have to take into consideration that Sergey Spivak is a legitimate heavyweight who's fought nothing but legitimate heavyweights his whole fucking run. You understand what I'm saying to you? And he's fucking nasty. He's the polar bear for a reason. You're not just going to go out there and ragdoll him, be a world beater on him, and just manhandle him and throw him all over the place. Like, you can throw the Biggie Boys and you can throw the Derek Lewises because they're not going to show that resistance in the wrestling and grappling department that a polar bear is going to show. They're not as proficient in the wrestling and grappling department as a polar bear. You understand what I'm saying to you? Jay Alton Almeida might try to go in for one takedown and find himself reversed and on the bottom with Polar Bear on top, and that's probably fucking matic. He might not get up. That might be that with that. You understand what I'm saying to you? And if Polar Bear stuffs the takedown and keeps it upright, or he attempts to, you know, feel Polar Bear out on the feet for the first couple minutes of the fight, due to the fact that he knows Polar Bear is nice in that department. He's a legitimate heavyweight, and it's not going to be as easy as Derek Lewis, you know what I mean, and some of these other individuals may have been. You understand what I'm saying to you? So maybe that causes him to play around on the feet for a little bit, where Sergey's the more dynamic striker. You know what I'm talking about? He is the more dynamic striker. He's the faster. He's probably more powerful in my personal opinion. He possesses more pop in each individual shot. And he can pick motherfucking Jay Alton apart, man. And possibly knock him the fuck out, drag him the fuck out, or find a submission in his own right. I really like Sergey in this fight, man, but it's heavyweight MMA. You know what I mean? So for the plays that I'm going to have on it, they're dog plays. But outside of that, when you're almost a minus 500 or a minus 500 or above as a favorite, you don't do nothing to my parlay unless we're talking about haymakers and Hail Marys. Like, you don't do anything significant to my parlay as a minus 500 or above unless you're like a 6th, 7th leg or above. You understand what I'm saying to you? Other than that, you do shit. You do absolutely nothing for the payout, man. So why stress yourself, you know what I mean, for an extra couple dollars and change added to your parlay? You understand what I'm saying to you? It's ridiculous, man. You know what I mean? Like, you have to attach him to a haymaker or a Hail Mary for it to motherfucking do anything to your parlay. And then at that time, it's like, for the little bit it did to your parlay, why stress yourself out? Why add that stress to yourself on fight night, man? It might not go his way. More times than not, we've seen that one of these more significant favorites are the one that fumbles the bag. You understand what I'm saying to you? It's the trend. You feel me? But it is what it is, man. Tread fucking lightly on that fight, Payton versus Hayoni. I like Payton, man. What if Payton comes out here and gets this one done via decision, though? Huh? What if he can't find a finish on Hayoni? What if he cracks him? What if he hurts him? You know what I mean? What if he possibly floors him, drops him, puts him in a compromisable position but can't find a finish, and Payton comes out here and wins this one by decision? Much like a, you know, much like a Bo Nickel or a Mauricio Ruffy. You know what I'm talking about? Individuals that just was getting things done inside the distance. You know what I'm talking about? For the most part, man, was just getting it done, finish at the finish. And then they come in there and everybody's expecting them up against this level of opposition. You know, Bo Nickel up against a Paul Craig. One would like to think he's going to find that finish inside the distance via KO TKO from clipping and disconnecting him from his consciousness. Or maybe he's going to find it via submission like a motherfucker Brendan Allen was able to do. You know what I mean? Brendan Allen wasn't scared of that jiu-jitsu because he was confident in his own and he found the finish. You know what I'm talking about? One would have liked to think that, you know, Bo Nickel was going to find that finish over a Paul Craig. You know what I mean? One would have liked to think that, you know, that's how that was going to take place. So one would like to think that, you know, Peyton's going to find a finish over a Raoni Barcelos, but I see those matchups very similar. You know what I mean? When you got a Peyton up against a Raoni and a Bo up against a, you know, Paul Craig. You know what I mean? As far as levels of opposition are concerned and names in the division and, you know, all of that, like I could see Peyton coming out here and not getting this one done and winning this one via decision, and I'm just wondering what the plus money number is on Peyton to win via decision. You know what I mean? But I like Peyton, man. I like Peyton. It's just hard for me to say Peyton's going to get it done via KO, TKO, or submission. You know what I mean? I'd like to say probably KO or TKO more than a submission. Raoni's nobody's chump stop. You know what I mean? He's getting older. His best days are behind him. You know what I mean? He's past his prime, in my personal opinion, or just his, you know, everybody's prime isn't everybody's prime. You know what I'm talking about? So, like, while he may still very well be in his prime, it's just not, you know, that magnificent of a body of work. It's solid, it's well-rounded, and at a certain level of opposition, it's going to be problematic. I think Peyton's just a bit too much, man. You know what I mean? So I like Peyton, but it is what it is. Bogdan Guskov, give me Bogdan Guskov to win this one via KO, TKO, or submission from a club and sub type situation, man. I think Billy only loss is by decision, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's only lost via decision, but I'm not impressed by him in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Nothing about the body of work that he's been able to produce or the lack thereof over where he's been producing it at moves the meter for me at all, man. You know what I'm talking about? You know how many LFA champions have come over this motherfucker, amounted to absolutely nothing, and then went back to other organizations and become champions again? You understand what I'm saying to you? That shit don't mean nothing to me. I'm not high on the PFL in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Anybody who's tapped in and talked to me about that knows why, man. It's the level of opposition is just different. You got individuals who couldn't make it over here in the UFC or in the Bellator or other organizations, not even into the top 10. But they go over there like an Impa Kasaganai. Impa Kasaganai wasn't going to be no champion or no title contender over here, man. He left the UFC, went over there, became a seasonal champion, and made $1 million. You know what I mean? It was en route to being a seasonal champion 2 times over, but got knocked the fuck out this last season. You feel me? Olivier Mercier or whatever, like, he was nobody special over here, but he went over there, if I'm not mistaken, and became a seasonal champion and won, you know, life-changing money for a motherfucker, man. It's just the level of opposition is different over there, man. I like the way that they do their, you know, strike, count, and speak, like everything that they do across the bottom of the screen if you tap in and watch PFL. But outside of that, like the way they structure their fights, you know what I mean, for the points and the way they score them. But the level of opposition is just different. So I think Bogdan's going to knock Billy the fuck out, man. I'm still on the side of Bogdan, the bad, you know, body Billy boy, and put him in a, you know what I mean, body Billy boy and get him out of here, man. My baby Shine say, zip him up, man. Zip him up, man. Zip him up and pick him up where the fuck Bogdan's gonna leave him at. You know what I'm talking about? Zip this motherfucker up and get him out of here, man. It's Bogdan via KO, TKO, or submission in the double chance. Bogdan's got like 14 knockouts and 2 submissions. You know what I mean? So it's not outside the realm of possibility that he could lock up a submission. So I would take Bogdan in the double chance section for KO, TKO, or submission, and that's the prelims, man. I'm staying away from Clayton and Tagir. It's ending via decision. If you just want action on it, but you don't want to pick a side, it's going to the cards, man. You know what I mean? It's going to the cards, man. And it's going to be a split decision in my personal opinion. A split or a majority decision. And one of them is going to get the nod. Sopaj, I like Sopaj via KO, TKO, or DQ at plus 360 for an individual who is a minus 350 on the money line. And I know he can get it done via KO, TKO inside the distance. And you're going to give me that at plus 360? I'll take that in the method section. You know what I mean? But it's Sopaj. Rinya via unanimous decision, 3 rounds to none. A-Lin via split decision. Could be a draw. If any fight on the card is going to be a draw, it's probably this one, but it's A-Lin. So that's the early prelims, man. Clayton and Tagir to go to the cards. Sopaj to get it done over Ricky inside the distance. Rinya to get it done over Muin via unanimous decision. A-Lin to draw a split or majority decision win over Carroll. Grant and Diego to end inside the distance. I think Diego's going to catch him, clip him, and disconnect him from his consciousness. I think Diego's possibly going to submit him. You know what I'm talking about? So Grant is the pick. But based off of how I feel about this fight, I just say it's, you know, it's ending inside the distance. You feel me? Zach versus Azamat. I'm all over Zach, and that's already a plus money number. You know what I mean? I think Zach gets it done inside the distance via KO, TKO, or submission. I don't think Azamat's surviving 15 minutes against Zach. Not the way he gets cracked. Not the way he's wide open to be touched. Not as sloppy as his entrances are for his single and double leg takedowns. He's not that fucking good, man. You know what I mean? So I think Zach gets him out here inside the distance. I think Sergey grinds out a decision or gets Jay out and out of here inside the distance. I think Peyton might, you know, win his first decision over the course of 15 minutes by, I don't want to say complete obliteration, but I just feel like if it goes 15 minutes, that means he hurt Hayoni a couple times, and Hayoni was in a couple compromisable positions, but he, you know, he dogged it out. You know what I mean? But Peyton's the pick, but that dude's like a minus 1,500, man. You know what I mean? Bogdan, inside the distance via KO, TKO, or submission. And De Ritter on the main card. I just hit like 10%, so I got to run through this main card real quick because I don't got the charger on deck. De Ritter on the main card over Kevin. Double chance via submission or points. He's either going to submit Kev or he's going to grind Kev out to a decision because Kev's going to stay safe. Kev might attempt to put, you know, De Ritter in a compromisable position from the bottom, you know. But I don't think it's going to work out for him. De Ritter is a legitimate, you know, he's a legitimate motherfucking middleweight at 185 that could be a fucking legitimate light heavyweight at 205. Where Kevin's a, that was his name, James. What was James's name? James, or was James at Vic? James fucking Vic. Is that was his name? James Vic? Vic. Anyway, Vic. Kevin Holland reminds me of Vic. He's just fucking frail. You know what I mean? Like he could be a light heavyweight. I mean, he could be a lightweight. Belongs at welterweight. Does not belong up here at middleweight because there's too many individuals like the, you know, Roman Delices and the motherfucking fuck, why I can't think of Marvin Vittori's and all of them that have already already turned him around and let him know he not ready for this work up here at 185. You know what I'm talking about? James Vick is who I was thinking about the other day when I was trying to motherfucking compare Kev to somebody as far as, you know, physicalities are concerned, man. James Vick is somebody based off of paper. When you look at his height, his reach, and his frame, you know, all his measurements, you know, you would have thought he was a fucking light heavyweight, man. You know what I mean? At least a middleweight, because there's light heavyweights, middleweight shit. There's heavyweights that that aren't 6'4" and don't have the motherfucking reach that a Kevin Holland or a James Vick had. You feel what I'm saying to you? So, you know, these individuals just don't fill their frames out, though. You know what I mean? Not when James Vick was fighting anyway, he didn't fill his frame out. Maybe he fills it out better now, you know what I mean? But Kevin Holland's just frail, man. He's just frail. He can crack. He's nasty. He's dangerous. He got speed. You feel what I'm saying to you? He's technically sound on the ground and all that. He's solid and well-rounded everywhere. He's his own worst enemy. You know what I mean? He is his own worst enemy. Let's get that out the way. That's a fucking fact. You know what I mean? He is his own worst enemy. Had he just got out of his head and locked in and dialed in on his performance side of things, I don't think he'd have as many losses as he does in the UFC or in his record. You know what I mean? He's his own worst enemy, man. But he belongs at welterweight. He belongs at welterweight. I know he wants to get a half a dozen fights in this year, bare minimum, and the only way he's probably going to be able to do them half a dozen fights in 1 year is by going back and forth between middleweight and welterweight because of the way that the fight landscape is already going to be, you know, lined up as far as who's fighting who and this, that, and the third, and his ranking and all that. Like, he's going to have to bounce from middleweight to welterweight. You know, he did it before. It's not like, you know, he's really worried about, you know, Lupe Godinez came in and did a whole bunch of fights in 1 year. It's not like she won them all. You know what I mean? So he's just trying to put the motherfucking fights, get the fights scheduled on the calendar, get them motherfucking bags and keep it moving, keep making money. You know what I'm talking about? He know he not gonna be no fucking champ. But the Ritter's a dog, man. The Ritter's a dog at 185. I don't like the guy. I'm not high on the guy. I believe him and both Michael Venom Page, the last one that, you know, handed Kevin Holland a loss. I believe both of them came over here a little bit, you know, later in the game. Their best days are kind of behind them, I think. Their prime and their best work was done over in the other organizations that they were in. And now they're over here. And I just don't know how high of a ceiling they have in the divisions or just in this organization over here, period. You know what I mean? But Kevin Holland obviously was a very winnable matchup for Page, and I think Kevin Holland is a very winnable matchup for the Ritter. And then I think Kevin Holland, after this fight, will go down to welterweight, get lined up with somebody at welterweight, you know, in a couple months, and catch a dub. Get lined up with somebody at welterweight again and possibly catch another dub. Come on back up here to middleweight for that 6th fight of the year and catch a motherfucking L unless they properly, you know, match him up with somebody. It is what it is. I like the Ritter, you know, double chance via submission or decision. And I'm still on Beneil. You know what I mean? Renato Moicano was going to have to make a believer out of me because regardless, if Beneil Dariush wasn't on a 2-fight skid and he was still on his 8-fight win streak and it was up to, you know, Beneil's on an 8-fight win streak, Renato's on a 4-fight win streak, and they have to fight, and the winner's gonna fight Charles Oliveira or Arman Tsarukyan, you know what I mean, type situation. Will we all still be on Renato on his 4-fight win streak and be shitting on Beneil, who was on an 8-fight win streak? Because that 8-fight win streak only came to a halt when he fought Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. You understand what I'm saying to you? The gate that will be open for Charles Oliveira with a victory over Beneil Dariush. A victory over Beneil Dariush opens the gates to hell in that division. Then you have to fight the Matus Gamrots, the Arman Tsarukyans, the Dustin Poirier, you know what I mean? And you got to fight all the motherfuckers, you know, up here. I said, Dustin, I be so stuck on Dustin like he's not on his way out, you know what I mean? But you know, the Islams, the Armans, the Matus Gamrots, you know what I mean? It's another tier of individuals waiting for Renato Moicano behind the win over Beneil Dariush. And that tier is a tier that Beneil Dariush has already experienced because he already beat the Thiago Moiseses, the Diego Ferras, the Jakar Closes, and the Matus Gamrots, who beat Arman Tsarukyan. You know what I mean? But then Arman Tsarukyan beat Beneil Dariush. This is the shit I'll be talking to y'all about when I say one thing has nothing to do with the other, but it's all worth consideration. You know what I mean? Like, Beneil beats Matus, Arman beats Matus, and then Arman beats Beneil. You know what I mean? I mean, Beneil beats Matus, Matus beats Arman, Arman beats Beneil. You understand what I'm saying to you? So, one thing be having nothing to do with the other, but it's all worth consideration. One motherfucker can beat a motherfucker that beat another motherfucker, but that motherfucker that this motherfucker beat, that beat that motherfucker can come over here and beat the motherfucker that, you know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I'm saying, man. Y'all know what I'm saying, man. You know what I mean? It's right there. It's simple for you. You feel what I'm saying to you? Beneil beat Matus. Matus beat Arman. Arman beat Beneil. You know what I mean? So Arman Tsarukyan, current title contender, Charles Oliveira, former champion, that's who beat Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush made his run up to the top of the heap and then just couldn't cut it. You know what I mean? Renato Moicano was on his way up to the top of the heap. This is, regardless of how anybody feels about it, his biggest test. And Beneil's a very calm individual, cool, calm, collected, don't do a whole lot of, you know, getting excited, getting loud, you know. He doesn't look real energetic. He kind of just looks laid back like somebody's fucking pop at a soccer game watching his daughter play while he's walking out there, sitting there like this, getting Vaseline on his fucking face, you know what I mean, ready to go into the cage. He looks like he's just, you know, watching his daughter's soccer game or something, you know what I mean? He's very, very, very calm, very cool, very collected. Doesn't expend a whole lot of motherfucking energy. He's durable. He's dangerous. He's well-rounded. He's solid. You understand what I'm saying to you? I don't know that Renato Moicano wants to find himself entangled on the mat or down on the mat with Beneil Dariush. You know, he wanted to put Jalen Turner there. He wants to put some of these other individuals there. But I don't know that he wants to try to put Beneil Dariush there. I believe Beneil Dariush to be a better wrestler, a better grappler, and a better jiu-jitsu practitioner. He is very fucking dangerous. I believe Beneil Dariush to, you know, just everywhere. He hits harder. You know what I mean? I don't know. I like it, man. I like it. I like Beneil. I like Beneil inside the distance via KO, TKO, or via decision. Yuri and Jamal inside the distance via KO, TKO. Period. It's gonna knock Yuri the fuck out, man. Yuri leaves himself too open. Yuri gets touched too often. Maul, not so much so. Maul's a savage, man. Maul is, I think people forgot what Maul was doing before Alex Pereira stepped on his motherfucking foot, caught him, and put him down. Like, I really think motherfuckers thought forgot about what he was doing, man. Forgot about who he is, what he's capable of inside that octagon. You know what I'm talking about? He can fucking crack. He can hit hard. He's accurate. He's fast. You understand what I'm saying to you? He's hard to take down. That takedown defense is fucking immaculate. I don't give a fuck what anybody's. He made Glover Teixeira go 2 for 17. Know what I mean? 2 out of 17 on takedowns from Glover Teixeira. You know what I mean? That's saying something. And he beat the fucking brakes off of Glover. You know what I mean? Now, I know Yuri found the finish in the very last minutes of their fight, him and Glover. But the performance that he put on, the body of work that he produced up against Glover up until that point was nowhere near nowhere near as brutal as the body of work that Jamal Hill put on him. You understand what I'm saying to you? And Alex has since come back. You know, he's gotten revenge 2 times on Yuri and once on Jamal. Now Jamal's gonna go out here and knock Yuri the fuck out, and we're gonna see if Alex can get revenge on Jamal one more again, or if Jamal just doesn't close the distance so quickly, plays the range game a little bit, tries to find his own motherfucking reads, and you know, wilder shit has happened. Didn't Alex come in this motherfucker and lose to like Mikolai, whatever the fuck old boy's name is, old bum ass? Hey, you know, shit can happen, man. You know what I mean? But that's to be determined and to be talked about when it's lined up. Right now it's Jamal, and it's Jamal catching, clipping, and disconnecting Yuri from his consciousness, man. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear shit about Yuri's confidence, Yuri's saying and what he look like. I don't give a Yuri be in the middle of the woods, Yuri be in fucking fire pits in the middle of fucking Ice Age somewhere, you know what I'm talking about, just humming and talking all types of noodle shit, you know, man. I don't give a fuck about none of that, man. You do all of that just to come in and get knocked the fuck out. You know what I mean? That shit don't mean nothing to me, man. Everybody's supposed to believe in themselves. Everybody's supposed to be confident in their abilities. You understand what I'm saying to you, man? I'm not basing who I'm picking off of confidence, just like I won't base who I'm picking off of momentum. I'm not picking Renato Moicano, who's on a 4-fight win streak, over Beneil Dariush because he's on a 2-fight skid, but was previously on an 8-fight win streak. I'm not going to do that because Renato Moicano would be on a 3-fight losing streak, in my personal opinion, if he had to fight Matus Gamrot. You know what I'm talking about? Armin Sarukian and Charles Oliveira. You know what I'm saying? I think Matus would have beat him. I know Charles would have beat him, and I know Armin would have beat him. At least I like to think I know that those two would beat him. You feel me? So I'm not down on him, and I believe one to be just a bit better, absolutely everywhere. And when both men are 35 years old, both born in May, like 15 or 16 days away from each other, there's no fucking age difference at all. You know what I'm talking about? They've both been finished inside the distance, so we're not going to sit here and say that one has more miles on them than the other. They're both 35. They both have the same exact reach. One's 5'10", one's 5'11". The only difference is one has fought at a higher level of opposition while he's been competing, and that's Beneil Dariush. So I'm with him. I'm with him via KO, TKO, or decision. Shit, maybe it's a submission, but I'm with him. I'm with Jamal, and I'm with Merab. You know what I mean? This Bud, I didn't hit the Bud. I know I was on Yuri and Maul. You know what I mean? Somehow I ended up back on Beneil and motherfucking Hanato. And then right on up to Merab. Boy, I tell you, man. Huh? It's that pink gushers, man. It's that triangle kush mixed with that gelato early in the morning. Huh? Talk about it, man. But it's Beneil and it's Jamal. It's Jamal inside the distance. It's Beneil possibly inside the distance, definitely via, decision. At the very least, in my personal opinion. And it's Merab, man. It's Merab. If you don't want to pick a side, it's going to the cards. Or, you might find a better money line on those round or those time props where it's like, will round 4 start? Yes or no. Will round 5 start? Yes or no. You can usually find a better number on those than on like the over-under. Like the over however many 0.5 rounds or the under however many 0.5 rounds will be set at whatever it's set at. And I'm talking about, will the fight go to the distance? Will be set at whatever it's set at. But then if you go like, will the fight start round 3? Will the fight start round 4? Will the fight start round 5? Yes or no. Those are different money lines as well. And that yes or no for will the fight start round 5 is usually a better, or if it's a 3-round fight, same thing. But will the fight start round 3 or will the fight start round 5 is usually a better money line number, a better price tag than the over-under or will the fight go to distance, because it's a specific, it's going to start round 5, which basically, you know what I mean? Yeah, basically saying that it's going to start round 5. I guess you get a better money line because you're not picking it to go to the distance. You're saying it's going to start round 5, but you're leaving the opening, the possibility for it to end in round 5. You know what I'm talking about? From either side. So just saying, will it start round 5? Yes, it's normally better than the over and better than his fight going to the distance. You understand what I'm saying to you? So maybe that's how somebody wants to attack this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Just attack some props and not pick no sides on some of these fights. Islam, I like Islam. I like Islam, and where I'm going to dial in on Islam, because I like Islam inside the distance this go around, I'm going to dial in and I'm going to sprinkle on Islam round 4 and Islam round 5, because Arman got tired, noticeably so, in round 3 of their first fight, which was quite some time ago. But he slowed a little bit at the end of round 2 as well. 5-round fight. I kind of feel like Arman's not going to want to try to implement the wrestling and grappling as heavy. He's not going to want to get into those exchanges as heavy, as early in this one as he did in his last one, due to the fact that he slowed down in his last one in the 3-round fight. This is a 5-round fight. He's packed on extra fucking muscle, you know what I'm talking about, which is sucking more oxygen from him, you know what I mean? So I think he's going to come out here and try to strike with Islam this go around, at least for the first couple of rounds, you know what I'm talking about, and use his wrestling and grappling defensively to try to keep the fight upright, because I do believe Arman to be the more dangerous striker, you know what I'm talking about. I do believe that. And once Islam starts to see that and realize what's going on, he's going to know, okay, let me tire this man out, let me wear on this man. He's trying to play this long game. Let me tighten this motherfucker up on him real quick, and then he's going to start to implement his offensive wrestling and grappling on Arman to really make him motherfucking burn out. And then somewhere in that 4th or that 5th, man, I can see him finding the finish. KO, TKO, club and sub type situation for the submission, or maybe he just gets him down, finally tires him out, wears on him, puts him in a compromisable position, and sinks in his submission to get the finish inside the distance that way. You know what I'm talking about? But I like Islam round 4, round 5. Like, I like Islam to get it done, via KO, TKO, or submission in the double chance. But I like Islam round 4, round 5. And that'd be like, you know what I mean? That shit be like plus 4,500 plus 5,500 type shit. You know what I mean? Islam round 1, Islam round 2, Islam round them numbers be crazy. And I think he's gonna wear on him and break him. And somewhere in round 4, round 5, somewhere in them championship rounds. I think it might happen. It might look like it's gonna happen somewhere in round 3, but Arman's gonna tough his way through that shit. But that's gonna be the last little bit of toughness he has, the last little bit of grit that he has, the last little bit of oxygen that he can really just and move forward with, you know what I mean? And in that 4th and that 5th somewhere, Islam's gonna get him. He's gonna get him up out of there, man. You know what I mean? So that's that with that. For what it's worth, early prelims main card. Tagir and Clayton to go to the cars. Sopaj inside the distance. Renya via decision. Aylin via split. Diego and Grant inside the distance. Zach via KO TKO with submission. Sergey on the money line because it's a wonderful motherfucking number. Peyton to get it done somehow. Bogdan, KO TKO with submission. DeRitter, submission or decision. Benil, just to get it done. I'll take the plus money number. Jamal, KO TKO inside the distance via catching, clipping, and disconnecting from his consciousness. Marab Dwajvili for the majority split decision. Islam Makhachev round 4, round 5 inside the distance type shit. You know what I'm talking about? That's that with that, y'all. I looked up at the joint. I seen that thing said 59 and 36 seconds. I tried to go ahead and do that last little run through real quick and end that joint smooth on a, you know, hour, little 60-second. But it ain't work out that way. So that's that with that, man. That's your 14 fights, your early prelims, your main card, your final talk, your final walk, your final answers, your final lap. Call it what you will. We ran through that motherfucker one more again from bottom to top. And I also gave you my opinion on how I think they're going to end. Peace and blessings.